Timney Director of Estate, Bristol Zoological Society, and Tom Roy, Head of Planning, Chew Valley Cricket Club. So we're going to go through the exact same process that we have just been through. We're going to listen to speakers from a variety of organisations with a variety of views, bringing important and different perspectives that we need to consider when we're filling out our criteria cards. We're going to also ask them some of the same questions, so it might be a bit repetitive, but just kind of a consistency. So I'm going to start by asking Simon to introduce himself and his and answer the question: where is your organisation located, and how is it currently served by us services?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Simon. It's very nice to be here, very nice to be invited. I head up the Bristol Portfolio for the National Trust Bath across both portfolios, Bath and Bristol. So we're a charitable organisation. Essentially, we look after nature, beauty and history for now and forever, for everyone. Our core purpose really is to look after these beautiful places so people can thrive. So key to a lot of that is access to the countryside, access to these historical sites across the portfolio. Now, a lot of these sites, we're interspersed across the region. There's lots of little pockets of countryside and farmland, trails and walking routes. But against this context, we're talking about the larger pay-per-entry sites that ostensibly feed the business in order that we can stay alive as an organisation. So, principally for us in Bath, that's Durham Park on the A46, just shy of the junction 18 with the M4. There is no bus service there. In Bath itself, Pride Park, which is serviced well by a city centre bus, and then Bath Assembly Roads, again, walking distance from the city centre. And then across in my portfolio, Lee Woods, not pay for entry, but a beautiful bit of green space. Again, served reasonably well, I would say, up towards the bridge and across. But then we get to Tinsfield, served by two buses. The X7 along the Cleveland Road from Bristol to Cleveland runs once an hour, does not run on a Sunday. And then the X6, X9 that runs to Nailsea. Again, an infrequent service, and I have to say, extremely dangerous service to get off the bus on that road to enter Tinsfield from that position. And then the last pay for entry, which has a much more limited footfall and opening times across Cleveland Court.
And Andy, the exact same question: where's your organisation located, and how is it currently served by us services?
Yeah, so very nice to be here. My name's Andy, I'm from the Wave. So we're located just off Cribs Causeway in East Compton. And for those of you that don't know, we are primarily a surf lake, but we're now venturing out. We have a campsite, we have a play park, skate park, woodland walk, sort of growing that sort of leisure activity. We're all about getting people outdoors, getting people back to nature. So our slogan now is more than surfing. So it's not just a place you can come and surf, it's a place you can come and have a coffee, have a meal, get out into nature. And we're currently served by a limited bus service, mainly coming down from Cribs Causeway. Nothing direct from the centre of Bristol or from the surrounding areas, and also just in the middle of the day. So we have a 160-seater cafe on site that if people want to come for a drink or a meal in the evenings, then it just doesn't, the bus service doesn't run, so we're relying on people with cars, which is unbelievably important to us. We're all about sustainability and our social impact, and as soon as you remove that bus service, then it really limits the people that can come and visit us. Unless you've got a car, then you're very limited. So yeah, we're in East Compton, just down from the zoo, which we'll hear about at the moment.
Thank you, John.
Thank you very much again. Thanks for having me. first thing to ignore is Bristol Zoological Society is not simply a zoo. It's primarily a conservation charity working to preserve critically endangered species worldwide. We've got 30 key projects across Africa, the Philippines and Madagascar where we work with genuinely endangered species that are on the brink of extinction. The zoo is a front-facing fundraising activity to help us fund that. The society itself is a charity entirely, and up until 2022 operated across 2 sites, so our site famously in Clifton, and then the site that was formerly known as the Wildlife Project, now the Bristol Zoo Project, off Junction 17, just above Easter Compton. Currently serviced by one bus that runs every hour, number 12, from Parkway. There are other buses that stop relatively near Cribbs Causeway in particular, but any of those stops are over a mile away from the zoo entrance. So accessibility is a challenge. You can get a bus to near us, but then you have to walk and at one point cross under the M5, which is not necessarily fun. So it's a challenge for us, and as everyone else has already said, sustainability is at the heart of our strategy, our mission, and motivating people to utilise public transport as opposed to vehicular transport, personal transport, is a key part of our ongoing strategy. I'll pass on to
Yeah, then you can ask Tom.
Hi everyone, my name is Tom. I'm Head of Planning and Chairperson of the Chew Valley Cricket Club. We're based out in the Chew Valley, south of Bristol. We're a rural community organisation where we're mainly serving kind of the Chew Valley, and we're putting our activities for youth, men, women and social players that get involved in the club. We used to have a reliable bus service that kind of went through the valley to then kind of get people from different parts of the region to be able to get us to our central hub, which is at the minute Chew Magna. That bus service was replaced by the Westlink on-demand bus, which doesn't really is not really suitable for kind of what the activities we put on. Obviously we kind of mainly, a lot of our activities are community orientated, so it's actually not transporting people from kind of central regions like Bristol and Bath out to us. It's mainly about trying to kind of get movement within the community. So it's very difficult for kind of public transport to kind of cater to that, but we play away fixtures where we have to travel in and around the Bristol and Bath area, and there just isn't the opportunity for people to take public transport. We are very mindful of kind of what people want to do and how they want to get about, but because of the sort of the limited options, everyone is limited to using kind of vehicles, and the option just isn't there for them to go and do that. So it's kind of limited.
Thanks, Tom. Now I think we're going to go back the other way, just sort of answering and thinking now more about the question, how do bus services help or hinder in your life, in your organisation, community, or in the way?
Yeah, so for our organisation, because it is community orientated, it doesn't really have a massive impact, public transport for our organisation, because people are kind of being transported locally. But from a kind of our region and our community perspective, a lot of people have direct connections with Bristol and Bath, but they do not have the option to get there at convenient times for them. They aren't able to get there for work, so everyone is limited to vehicle transport. So just not having the option, not having the frequency or the accuracy of timings to allow people to not rely on vehicles. There's a lot of community organisations within our community where it is trying to improve sustainability, but one of the biggest issues that we have in our local area is vehicles and transportation, and just without the option, people are just relying back on the kind of easiest kind of form of transport, which is vehicles. So from our community perspective, it would be fantastic if there was an option for us to kind of connect and get to the kind of the bigger regions. Obviously we are a rural community, and that does bring it about some challenges in regards to kind of how do you kind of cater for sort of the wide range of majority. But I suppose the majority of our community do travel to the hubs, to Bath, to Bristol, and we're kind of in this sort of dead zone where the options aren't really there to give us different form of transport.
Thanks, Mel. Jonathan, same question. How do bus services help in the organisation, community, and employee?
Thank you very much. The 150 staff, 200 very generous volunteers that give up their time to help us operate. We educate 900 students, higher education students, through the course of the year in zoological, veterinary, or conservation, higher education studies. 9,000 school children visit the zoo and learn about conservation worldwide. And then 400,000 families visit us for enjoyment, for social visitors. So there's a lot of people needing to get to that site. And public transport is limited at the moment. So the utilisation of cars is overwhelming. And as we've said, our sustainability strategy, it sits at odds with that activity. And we need to find ways to utilise more public transport to minimise the impact on the environment and the climate crisis. And the big thing for me is we're not on our own. The landscape of the West of England region is changing. Bristol Aerospace, the development of the new arena, the wave, other activities in and around that area is moving the central hub potentially away from something like the centre of Bristol. And we need to think about how that landscape is changing to understand how public transport will best serve the environment.
I guess there's two ways of looking at it, in my opinion, and one you'll probably hear a lot today, and that's about people and getting to and from work. I think one thing you may see from us sat on this panel is that we offer a very different place to work, because in the attractions that we have, I'm a surf lane, but that doesn't mean we just have surf instructors. We have chefs, we have cleaners, we have night porters, we have gardeners, we have all different opportunities to work in the outdoors in incredible environments. And with health and well-being so important these days, the opportunity to get out of the city but still be a dishwasher or still be a kitchen assistant or train to be a lifeguard or work at the zoo is incredible to people's health and well-being. So I think the opportunity to work and for us as a business to reach more diverse communities as opposed to just people that can drive is extremely important to us. So you will probably hear from a lot of different businesses how important it is to get people to work. I'm taking a slightly different stance on it, that give people the opportunity to do the same job in a much healthier environment than necessarily a city centre. And the other side of the coin, I guess, is giving people in the city centre somewhere to go. So at the Wave, we dropped our admission charge a couple of years ago. We've got a play park, we've got a skate ramp, we've got all that stuff that's free to do to get out for anybody from anywhere. But if you can't afford a car, you can't come. So no matter the fact that we let people in for free is irrelevant because they can't afford to get there without taking 3 different bus services, to the level where we run a social impact project where we actually give up to 2,000 surfs away for free, fully funded by the Wave every year. And I speak to some organisations that can't take us up on that because they can't afford to get to us. So no matter what we do, in order for us to make that impact on schools that can't necessarily afford to come, well, we say we'll fund that, but they can't get to us in the first place. So it's around that health and well-being for me. It doesn't matter whether you're going to work, going for a day out or whatever. If you have to take 3 different buses to get there, then it becomes irrelevant. And for all of us where we're trying to give back to the social impact side of it, to give back to society, it really hamstrings us on what we can do. And then obviously, as we're all saying, that the more cars we can take off the road, the better. And when we've got people coming for a surf and they're coming on their own, within our team at work, we have a car share community which works really well. We're trying to work how we can do that with our customers, but the majority of our people come on their own in cars, and the more cars we can take off the road, then obviously the better.
Thanks. And Sam?
So very much the same sort of themes here. So I'll use Tinsfield as an example. We've got about 90 members of staff there, over 500 volunteers, 400,000 visitors a year. On any one day, there's probably 50 to 60 members of staff, probably 30 to 40 volunteers. Asked a question on Friday, 4 people So already against the physics of a car park of 350 spaces, we're taking up all of that just to get ourselves there, so we automatically reduce the offer to the visitors in terms of numbers. So, you know, if you look at the core purpose and the strategy for the organisation I represent, we're about everyone welcome, and we're about climate action. There are two overarching strategies. If you don't have a car, you find it pretty difficult to get to Lisbon. We're 5 kilometres from the bridge, the suspension bridge. We're about 9 kilometres along the Festival Way. That is too far for the average walk or the average bicycle. But we really need to get after how we integrate active and green travel and public transport to support the visitor numbers. Now there's 2 other things that I'm personally involved in. I run a children and young people's hub. I'm on 2 locations in the southwest for that activity. I'm also working collectively across the region on an urban strategy. The key to all of that is how, as an inclusive organisation that sells itself on access, how can we better represent the communities that we serve? Because quite frankly, if you come to a National Trust property, you're either a young white middle class family or you're senior plus. And we offer and we have these fantastic places. They're part of our national history. They're available to everyone. And we need to do better to serve the communities and better represent the diversity and quality, particularly of a multicultural city such as Bristol.
Thank you. And now for our last question, we'll turn to the future. And with limited funding available, what would you most like decision makers to prioritise when deciding what bus services to support? Simon, have you come to you first?
So, I mean, I'd like a regular service, but I'm a realist. I'd like that to be focused around the start and the end of the working day. I'd like an enhanced service at the weekends to come from the heart of Bristol, the heart of Bath, out to these locations. So we're available to everyone, and access is not an issue.
Thank you. Andy?
For me, the thing here is just who's going to use it. There's no point putting in great bus routes if you're going out to maybe to the villages where everyone's got a car and they're going to drive. So going back to our point around the diversity and around the social impact, just are people going to use this service and what impact is it going to have on them? And like I said before, the job opportunities that we have available across all of these organisations gives a real opportunity to get outside, to increase your health, your well-being, things like that. And I know the way, for example, you can come to us as someone keen on surfing, we'll train you to be a lifeguard, we'll train you to be a surf coach, we'll pay for it all to happen, but you do need to be able to get there. So it's just put on a bus route for people that are genuinely going to use it, rather than just putting it on because that's an easy route to take.
Thank you.
Yeah, I echo what both the previous speakers have said, but the one piece I would add is if you can think about the combined authority of West Midlands as a merged environment and a changed landscape. Don't just think about where you're from, don't just think about Bristol. The shape is changing and where activity is happening is in different locations. So I think it's try and remember that is different. Our staff, volunteers come from across the region, North Somerset, South Wales. For me, if there's a personal example, I live in Portishead, I live less than 10 miles from where I work. If I wanted to take a bus, I have to take a bus into the centre of Bristol and then a bus out of the centre of Bristol to Cribbs. One bus runs every hour and a half, which is a bit hard. It takes me about 3 hours to get to work. I'm not asking for my bus route to be changed, but I'm on my own.
Thank you. And lastly, Tom?
Yeah, I think it echo what everyone else is saying, but also thinking about it from a more systematic perspective, and as Andy was saying, analysing kind of where is the majority of people trying to get to, how do we improve for the masses to get kind of the traffic and the road, the cars off the roads, to improve kind of our ability to attack the kind of climate emergency. and think about it in that way in regards to it's not, you're not obviously going to be able to tick every box, you're not always going to be able to solve a problem for every single community, but there are certain communities within the region that are going to be more needing of bus routes and services. Again, thinking about that just because people live in a certain area and they need to get to a certain place at the minute, is the public transport system as it stands the thing that dictates where they base themselves, where they choose to work, and things are going to evolve, things are going to change, communities are going to change. So the systems that get put in place need to be robust enough to accommodate that change and that future thinking. Because again, thinking about electric vehicles, that will then change the way that we move about the region. And so yeah, we've got to be thinking 5, 10, 15, 20 years in advance as opposed to how we solve the challenges now.
I think that